Hello, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another video as we've got two high-ranking players in a mirror matchup on an island map. That's right, we have got TaToH, infamous and well-known Age of Empires 2-player, up against TheMista, consistent player in the top 20, both playing France on Warring Islands. So we are going to get something a little bit different in terms of starting. We're probably going to see both of them focus towards those Hulks. But as we have seen, because, I mean, I'm starting to look like an Island fanboy here of how many of the videos so far have been Island ones. There is this idea of night rushing early on because, of course, as France, you almost always will go for the School of Cavalry on your tech up. So you want to try and get value out of those knights any way you can. And of course, when you are talking about these mirror matchups, yes, Hulks will likely come out, but they are also pricey to get access to. So it's going to be interesting to see who's going to have the advantage because likely we could see one person go for the knights a bit earlier, one person go for the Hulks. Of course, the nuance of going Hulks instead of like mirror matching some Night Rush is you then have to kind of gamble that you are scouting the right area of the sea to block your opponent's attempt to land on your island, right? And the interesting part is these islands are pretty big because it's Warring Islands. Like, they stretch pretty far. In fact, I'd say TaToH in a way kind of got the short straw in this one because his is an even longer trek to kind of cover. But we'll see if that matters. I think genuinely, like, we're probably going to see 2-3 knights just put on a ship and sent across to harass the ecos. Especially considering when you're in a France-France matchup, you don't really see a defensive structure, right? Like, yes, you can build an outpost. Yes, you have your town center for protection, but you're not talking about, say, Rus that get a Kremlin on tech up, or another faction such as China that can also build a defensive landmark. We'll see. In terms of docks, it looks like Mista did beat TaToH to the punchline. And in terms of distribution right now, we actually have 5-5 equal on food and wood. Meanwhile, I believe it's, 6 and 4 split. I like this from TaToH. I think you should be prioritizing a little bit more wood. You basically just want enough eco eking out to keep your villager production up, which he will achieve for 1 or 2 more villagers before. And then, of course, you'll have your fishing ships coming out to kind of pick up the pace when you shift more people away from this food supply. So all in all, I like that balance. Mista, his is fine as well. It's just a little bit more heavy on the food at the start. But he has already started producing the gold. And you can already see actually on the other side, there is a magical worker who doesn't exist. TaToH? TaToH is Hacksaw, guys. So it seems to have bugged out the villager and they don't exist. Okay, he was somehow hidden under the structure. That was a bit weird. We were getting weird kind of glimpses like we would in the cinematics from the campaign of overlaid troops. So that was kind of odd. Yeah, so far 2 on gold. 2 on gold over here. Just kind of a few thoughts about the spectating tools so far, by the way. Definitely could do with a few more adjustments. I would love to see like villager breakdown, military breakdown, instead of it just being like endgame stats in the top. And I would also love to have an option by default to hide the timer on the game, so I don't know how long the game's going to be. Basically, spoiler-free functionalities, which I'm kind of used to. You know, I come from a Dart background, for those who aren't familiar, and we do have those kind of tools available when we download replays that we can not know who won the game, if we choose. But let's focus on what's happening in Age of Empires, as we've got 4 ships already out. It looks like, yeah, Mista is slightly ahead because, of course, he did get this dock out earlier. So his eco is looking slightly ahead of TaToH. So the reason this can be a big deal is because if Mista continues the current rate of gold, even to TaToH, he can probably tech up a little bit sooner. And that means he can probably be 1 night ahead, which means that he'll be able to get his aggressive rush onto TaToH's island out sooner. And that will benefit Mista more if they do this mirror movement where they don't even see each other, where they just kind of sail through like ships on the in the night, right? And land on both islands. The difference will be that the Mista will probably have, you know, his troops land a little bit sooner, and that means he'll be prodding the eco of TaToH first. Scout just being AFK. Has he actually checked everything on this island? No. Come on. Scout this tiny bit of land down here. What are you doing? TaToH is realizing just how much land he has at his disposal. It's like, maybe I can sell some of this to the locals for a bit of gold. Sadly, there are no locals, apart from the wolves. And last time I checked, wolves don't have any use for gold. Actually, maybe that's not entirely true. Considering when Rust players kill wolves, they just spontaneously erupt 25 gold. I'm starting to wonder if there is some sort of trafficking ring involving smuggling gold through countries in these poor Gaia creatures. All right, and that is enough of whatever I'm on for tonight. Let's focus on what's happening in the dock situation, because there is a big deal occurring here. TaToH is still staying one dock, but Mr. is going for a second. And this could just mean that he's planning to super eco boom, but this could also just be him balancing out Hulk plus fishing ship, which I think is more likely. Whereas for TaToH, he's eventually have to make a choice after the tech up between fishing ship or going for the Hulks. And it looks like, by the way, he did go to the Chamber of Commerce. This is one we don't see as quite frequently because, of course, the French Knights are so good. It's a marketplace, and all returns are 30% stronger to any market or dock that you own. So it looks like TaToH is going to have a priority probably around getting some trade ships out early and just shipping over to these islands. It is a risky play up against another France player just because the Hulks, like 1 or 2 Hulks, I think is more than enough to snipe a trade ship. And that might force you into Hulk spamming early. But I think TaToH's already committed to that. The fact that he didn't build the School of Cavalry suggests that he wants to go into Hulks. And look at this. Mr. is of the same mind. He doesn't actually want to go for the Cavalry either. And this is an interesting development because, remember, so far, what we've been seeing a lot of on these island maps is the French player opts into School of Cavalry, gets 3 to 4 of his knights on a ship, and then goes across to the enemy side, sometimes even bringing workers with him, and then basically builds up a starting structure. We saw that from, I believe it was Buzz Blaze is the one that we regularly see do that. He's a really, really big fan of bringing across 4 or 5 workers and building up a few military buildings on the enemy island. But these guys, they're playing kind of a little bit more long game. And more for the sea. Like, you can already see, yeah, there's one Hulk being built and a second one as well. TaToH is going to be outmanned potentially, but he's already got his first Hulk out, so he might just about be able to catch up with this. But he's going to need a second dock, and there it is. Second Hulk being built. So he's actually ahead in terms of production. Income-wise, I believe, yeah, he's still behind Mista by a noticeable amount, especially on the wood front. This is going to matter, but the difference is that TaToH has invested heavily into gold. So not only can he potentially tech up on the blacksmith front quicker, right? But also, he's going to have ample gold to just kind of spam out Hulks. I believe, is he going for trade yet? Hulk. So no interest in trade. Kind of understandable. I like this play more. Just completely secure the center of the map before you even consider trade. And he's already sending his Hulk across. But look, Mister's got him kind of pinched here. Double on guard. So he needs to be a little bit careful because these Hulks can burn through each other pretty quick if he goes too deep. They go 1. And he's going to realize he's just outnumbered and just try and run away now. You might get 1 or 2 hits in as TaToH retreats, but that would be all he gets, so he gives up in the end. So other Hulk back here is already ready. There's more Hulks being queued up, and I like this. Additional sales already being researched. I don't believe... No, this is actually not a priority for Mr., which suggests that he's going to have a much more defensive opening here and just try and eco a little bit. But the worry I have here is if you get into a stalemate game, I do give a slight advantage to TaToH just because of this marketplace placement. I think this trade post is much better stationed for TaToH. Right? It's slightly closer to him, and if you think about where the docks start, yeah, it's going to be much easier for him to touch. Whereas if you're like talking midway, TaToH could still sneak in trade ships while you fight. You wouldn't be able to. You'd be going straight through the middle of a battleground. But with 4 Hulks, maybe you can actually do something. Because remember, we did mention while those sales are good, it does slow down your production rate. He has got his 4th Hulk out, so it's not going to hurt him too much. 5th will be there before they'd engage. And this is going to be the wonky part about this mid-game, because it's a Civ versus Civ matchup. If both of these players are opening the same, exactly the same, which they have, every time you manage to get a Hulk advantage, numerically, it's going to be lost by the time you reach the other side of the map, right? This is kind of a big, wonky element of like larger maps. It's not as much felt on smaller 1v1 maps, but I've definitely noticed that, especially when you play 2v2, especially 4v4, I was doing some of those on islands last night, and it was just any advantage you had was gone by the time you reached their base. So we'll have to see if someone goes for a center map expansion quickly. But the Hulks are fighting right now, and decent damage being done to 1 on each side. In fact, this looks like TaToH is kind of getting the better of her. Yeah, they're going to sink evenly. Nope, they're not. TaToH now loses an extra one. So Mista, it looks like he was microing better there. TaToH had spread damage, but he wasn't clicking on target in time. So some of his shots were going into different Hulk ships. That being said, Mista will be happy with that trade and back off because he needs to generate more Hulks, which he's got 1-2 coming out. He has gone up to 4 docks now and spamming the fishing. So this might just signal a quick tech up, or this could be possibly him thinking about like maybe going for a small melee invasion. I kind of like that idea because your opponent is, now that he's kind of behind the Hulks, is probably going to overcompensate in Hulk production. What he doesn't know yet, because no scout has gone on, of course, is that TaToH is still on a 2-dock operation. So if he did spam Hulks, he'd be 100% ahead of TaToH. And yeah, TaToH should see this as well. Like, he just spotted out that there's another dock being built. I love this move to just kind of snipe the widespread, because his concern is, like, if TaToH is going to be outmatched on the water, it's because Mista is widespreading with his dock placement, right? Like, you don't usually see players stack all the docks immediately next to each other because they want to get value out of a few fisher ships here or there with their drop-off points. It's not like you're a Rust player who doesn't have to worry about drop-off. So he's kind of going wide, understanding that when he comes close to this island, yes, he's going to be at disadvantage. And also, if you ever want to kind of slowly eke your way up and invade, you don't want to have to be fighting into dockyards that have been established because those are going to be healing the units you're attacking. A less significant deal when you're playing France, though. Mainly because these Hulks don't really waste any time bursting through targets. Compare it to like attack ships, arrow ships. Arrow ships feel very hard to use when you're pushing into a dock location because the heal kind of counteracts half of your damage output. Come about. Oh, TaToH just realized he's outnumbered. Nice burst out, but not enough shots going on one target for him to pursue. So he'll back up. He'll regroup his Hulks. Looks like it is 8-6 right now, but there is 2 more back in base. Make that 2 plus a transport ship. So it looks like Mista is going to be the first one to begin the shenanigans. No transport ship yet built by TaToH. He's still on this 2-dock operation. He finally built up a third. But they are all committed to Hulk. So he's all in on just completely choking out Mista and keeping him away from some sort of eco expansion. But he's going to have to be quick with this because there's already 1 villager moving across for Mista. And this should be... No, he hasn't got... What? So what's the plan here? Yeah, just more docks. Okay, I don't mind this. This is kind of cool. Because of that healing factor we mentioned that comes out of dockyards with the repairs, he could start to control the map in his favor by having dockyards along this center piece. Meanwhile, if you look at TaToH, he's already been saving up stone. He was going for that double TC, and he's going to do it on his own island. So he's not getting greedy for expansion. He's going to move on to this new tree line. The cool thing about this is, yes, you know, you're still one island, but you've got this additional villager production that you can then shift across with a transport ship. And in the meantime, you're actually booming your eco instead of wasting some extra time, you know, moving 5, 6, 7 villages into a ship, which is slowing down your whole production in the meantime, and then also moving them across to an island. Big fleet for TaToH. Are they even Stevens? I think, no, TaToH has the edge here. It's just, he stopped at 8 Hulks. He's got his 9th one out, and he's still outnumbered here, though. So TaToH does have the advantage. And when you focus fire like this, the dock is not going to be significant in these fights. So one's going to drop already. Second one looking to fall soon. TaToH, he's pushing Mista completely back here. He's even moving the fishing ships in to distract him. So TaToH has to full micro now and just try and target these ships down one by one. He's backing off from the dockyards a little bit, so there's no healing advantage. But you still have to click the right targets here. And it is starting to even up as a result. 1 ship advantage still for TaToH. A lot of these fishing ships just being picked off in the fray. And that's going to be a back off. 2 ships almost destroyed will escape. So 5 each side. Mista kind of has to be happy with that, considering he was definitely outnumbered. But it did cost him some of his eco. I think he lost like 2, maybe 3 of the fishing ships, as well as an equal number of Hulks. So all in all, TaToH's going to be a bit frustrated that he wasn't able to push his advantage more. And now, noticing that there's a dock in the center of the map, this is going to become quite troublesome for him. Because it just means that Mista will be able to reinforce the fights quicker, and as we mentioned, also get those heals out. Not only that, by the way, but Mista did... you didn't even mention this. He was the one that teched up because he was booming on the gold and the food because he has so many fishing ships, right? And that's the difference. If we actually look at this, TaToH has, what, 5, 6, 7 fishing ships. Even after that fight, Mr. Efficiency on the water here. Like, I believe it's 4 fishing ships here. It's another 6 up here. So Mr. was booming on the food, which allowed him to get this tech up ahead of TaToH. And now TaToH, aware of this, is probably going to have to back up and focus on his eco, because the most important thing is going to be this Navigator lookout that's going to give the additional range and allow Mr. to not only kite, but also engage first. Not to mention the fact that, by the way, the most significant thing is when you're doing these ship bulks, right? Hulks, in this situation, more the bulks, you're going to have a big problem with these demo ships now, right? We saw this before in the first video of the series where we saw Russ versus France, right? Russ's counter was actually teching quickly to free to counter the cluster of Hulks. So now you have to pay full attention. You can notice these demo ships quite easily. They aren't the chunkiest in terms of health pools with only 200 health. But if you get caught off guard for a moment, like if he just sticks them in with fishing ships and runs in, you could easily lose half your fleet in an instant. TaToH coming back in now. 9 Hulks to the 6. Make that 7. And he's getting a little bit too close. He'll realize the demo ships are there and he needs to go retreat. In fact, he's not getting far enough away from this. He just prioritizes attacking the Hulks. Moves in the middle of Mr.'s Hulk so he can't get close enough for maximum boom efficiency. But he will get it anyway. The demos all proc off. 1 more to go. And that looks like that's going to be the Hulk fleet. More or less just wiped for TaToH as Mr. takes the advantage here on the sea. More Hulks coming out, but it's only 3. And I think, yeah, he's behind now. So 5 Hulks the way of Mr. The demo ship's making the difference. We talked about this every time. Yes, France is strong, but you have to find a way to choke out your opponent early with these Hulks. And that is very difficult when you're talking about the France versus France matchup where both of you have access to this Leviathan on the water at Tech 2. And now, even with injured ships, he's going to move in. And he might even end up finding a bunch of his fishing ships being sniped here. And remember, TaToH is light on the fishing ship count. So he's going to fall behind immensely here. He's starting to tech up. He's building the guild hall back here. Guild hall, of course, is the one that generates resources over time that you then select what you want. And yeah, the more that's in there, the faster it generates. But he's going to be late on this tech. That much is clear, right? And I think there must be a blacksmith, right? Was there no blacksmith prioritization? It doesn't look like it. No. Because I'm pretty sure Hulks do get affected by the range tech. If anyone knows that for sure and I'm an idiot, let me know in chat or in comments later. But I'm pretty sure it does affect it. And now the Hulks are in, by the way. So TaToH still only has a 3-dock business operation. And one of them is just going to be out of operation. But because he did put the tech up, he can now get access to demo ships. They're going to be vastly and desperately needed as well, because it's a 9 Hulk count right now for Mr., and that's before counting reinforcements. Meanwhile, TaToH is down to just 6 at the moment. And more coming out. And also more expansion on the main island. Or center island, rather. As Mr., he has got outposts down, so he can get early warnings about attacks down the center. And also, this wood line just got exposed. So, wow. Okay, Mr. just sniped out, was that 5? 5 villages, just like that. So, eco damage. TaToH still yet to actually do any real eco damage. You had those initial bouts where I think he sniped 2 or 3 fishing ships when Mr. used them as just cannon fodder to absorb fire. Which, by the way, for anyone watching this looking for a way to kind of win in these intensive early game skirmishes, cannon fodder are incredibly effective. Like, cannon fodder are ridiculously effective. If you think it from this like perspective of like the Hulks, their fire rate, right, missing out on 1 or 2 volleys because they're firing at fishing boats that only cost 60 wood, versus the enemy targeting your Hulk and, you know, that costs 300 wood and 240 gold. Like, it's a simple mathematical equation that comes out as cha-ching in gold terms. In fact, I've seen plenty of this kind of thing done in other games. Like, if anyone was a Red Alert 2 fan like me, high-level players would invest in attack dogs amongst their tank line so that when you like auto-engage, unless someone targeted a microed, then their tanks would usually be attacking dogs. Yeah, TaToH moving in his expedition fleet. He has got the demo ships as well, but Mr.'s already moving across back to the center of the map. A little bit concerned that he's not seeing any defense of his base, because TaToH, like, he's completely surrendered his production area here. As there's just 5 Hulks are locking down and slowly killing off these docks. He's going to move his plan into action. And they're going to retreat away with the fishing ships. Plenty of docks here for you to target as TaToH, but this is not what you wanted. And what you do not want to have happen is you getting wrapped around on and trapped with your demo ships exposed first. And that's what's going to happen here. Mr.'s moving in. Sees the demo ships. He snipes them out. No value out of the boom, He's going to lose them one by one, and now with the Hulks returning and outnumbering TaToH, this could easily just be the game. Demo gets in, gets value. Just the one from Mista was good enough. Meanwhile, TaToH completely wasting his, not getting any boom value this time. And they're going to clean up all the Hulks. With that, they'll be able to move back across to TaToH's side of the map where, yeah, he's got a demo ship here or there, but it's just inconsequential because how do you reach these Hulks that can snipe you out in just 2 shots? Well, make it 3, actually. Yeah, he's already split. They just don't care. He can trade demo ship for Hulk, and you're kind of happy because you have such a military advantage that there's no way TaToH can keep up the quantity. Remember, these demo ships, they do take 35 seconds, so they are a little bit quicker to produce than Hulks, but they are so flimsy against such a hard-hitting unit that it's kind of counterintuitive in a lot of ways, and I'll explain why now. Basically, when you talk about demo ships as a counter, it's all about getting rid of this Zerg factor that someone has. It's all about counterbalance, right? It's a negative feedback loop, like the whole concept being that if you're far ahead, it's someone to pull you back. The problem is it just doesn't, well, it works out in theory, it doesn't work out in practice against Hulks with most factions. Reason being that Hulks, they can hit so hard that just 3 of them will insta-kill a demo ship, right? Which means you don't actually rely on quantity as much as quality when you build Hulks. Which means these demo ships that are meant to counter the bulk force, like, you can just actually split your boys up into small skirmish groups of 3 or 4 ships. And that means that these demo ships, when they split and try and go for a target, they're going to be picked off one by one. Or you have to prioritize all of them towards one group target. And that means maybe you take out 4 Hulks, but we're talking probably 8+ demos needed to do it. And there's the GG we were expecting. Really well played out of Mista. I like the way that he played on the defensive and then started to skirt and move in with docks. It gives him a territorial advantage, which means once he leverages a fight in his favor, he can actually push in and end the game. TaToH, on the other hand, just kind of behind not only on eco, but also in terms of production in this game, as the dock spam was just too strong out of Mista.